In today's episode, we look at Riverside.fm for recording podcasts, especially if you have remote guests. Now, first of all, just so you can assess the quality, this is all being recorded with a variety of things into Riverside.fm. So the Riverside.fm is really going to be limited by the quality that you can send to it. In this case, we're using a nice live streaming setup. We're using a Canon C70 as the camera. I have a microphone here. This is the Earthworks SR314. That's going through a preamp called the Rupert Neve Shelford channel, and then that's going into the camera. The camera HDMI output is coming into an A10 Mini Extreme ISO, and then that's connected via USB to the computer, which is being sent to Riverside.fm. So that's what you're seeing here and hearing here in terms of this particular stream. Now, what is Riverside.fm, and how does it help you if you're a podcast producer or podcaster? Well, it is an online service for recording your podcast, both video and audio, and you can bring in remote guests as well. So the nice thing about this is that not only is it just a way to record online podcasts, but it produces the best quality because it keeps a recording locally on each person's computer in their browser. So you use Chrome browser, and it actually records the audio and video to their browser and then starts uploading it as internet bandwidth becomes available. So not only do you get an interface that's very much like, for example, a Zoom call or a Skype call to be able to talk with each other, but the browser is also recording all of this and then sends it up to Riverside.fm as that internet bandwidth is available. So while you may not be getting the best picture of your co-hosts during the podcast, you're actually getting very high quality recordings from everybody because it's all being recorded in each and every person's local browser and then sent to Riverside.fm as internet bandwidth becomes available. So that could be during the podcast. And in my experience so far is that the upload sometimes can take a little bit after you stop the recording, but usually it only takes a few seconds, depending on the people's internet connections. Now, right now it works in Chrome on Mac or PC, but they're also working on a mobile version as well. Obviously, I think you're going to get the best result and kind of experience if you're working on a fairly powerful computer with a good wired internet connection. With Riverside.fm, you can record up to 8 people simultaneously. That's one host and up to 7 guests. Now, you can also have different types of people join the recording and the stream. And let me kind of talk through that. First of all, you send an invite to your guests, and that goes in the form of a link and also a calendar invite. So what's really nice about that is the host has to have a Riverside.fm account, but nobody else does. They open that link in Chrome, and they, of course, will have to have a webcam or some other sort of camera connected to a capture device, a microphone, and preferably headphones or even in-ear monitors to be able to hear the other guests or hosts. And that's all they need to get connected. So it's pretty straightforward. Another feature that's very nice is that Riverside.fm records separate video and audio streams for each participant in the recording. That's super nice so that you can actually download all of those individual recordings in post, bring them into your video editing app, your nonlinear editor, and actually cut it up just like a multicam sequence with very high quality video and audio. So that works really nicely. Oh, did I mention also you can record up to UHD, and the audio is recorded at 16-bit, 48 kilohertz in a lossless format wave. Each participant can configure their microphone, their camera, and their headphones or speakers independent of each other. So what that means is that you're not tied to a single device to get your audio in and out, which is really nice as well. So for example, in this case, I'm actually sending the audio from this microphone into the camera, and I'd be listening back if I had other participants in the call here through my computer's audio or through an audio interface that's connected via USB or Thunderbolt or whatever. You can also share your screen. So if you need to show something on your screen in the podcast, that's possible as well. As somebody who loves audio, one of the things I really appreciate about Riverside.fm that I've not seen on some of the other cloud streaming services is the audio meters for each participant. And I know it sounds silly, but that is super useful because that's the biggest challenge is that when you have multiple people getting together to be recorded by an online service, a lot of the services don't have audio meters at all. And then some of them that do have kind of these just little bars where you can't really tell exactly what's happening and what the levels are really at. The ballistics aren't that great, or they don't have any markers on the meters. These are a little bit better than that. There are no particular markers, but it does have the green, yellow, red kind of range. And so that's pretty nice. And in fact, the host gets to see everyone's meters, and they can actually pull down someone's levels if they need to. Now, of course, that's not going to fix problems if someone's set their input level too high on their own microphone and it's clipping, but it can be useful for kind of fine-tuning things a little bit. So pretty nice implementation there by Riverside. Now, as I mentioned before, there are different types of people you can have in the actual recording studio at a given time. Of course, you can have a host and you can have guests that are all participants and they're all being recorded, but you can also have a producer in the space. What a producer can do is what you might expect. They can actually talk to the participants in the recording or the live stream, but they are not recorded. So that's a nice feature. And we've actually used that for my corporate video work, where some of our marketing people who are in the role of a producer were able to join, and they were able to go back and say, hey, could you say that line again? We didn't quite, and maybe say it a little bit differently this way. And so having those participants is really useful as well. You can also have audience members, so people that just participate by watching. Now, if you don't happen to finish the recording in a single day because of whatever reason, maybe you ran out of time and there's still some more things you wanted to cover, you can actually come back to the studio at a later time and go ahead and finish the podcast at that point. Now, in addition to recording, you can also live stream to YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all the regular suspects, and you can actually stream to 4 of them at the same time. Now, when the guests first arrive, they actually go to a green room where they can actually select their camera, their microphone, and their speakers or headphones. And they also indicate whether or not they are using headphones. If they are not using headphones, it'll turn on echo cancellation, which is basically a way to get a mix minus. But I would encourage people to use their headphones. The echo cancellation works like you might expect. It's not perfect, but I would generally encourage people to use headphones for the best quality recording. Now, Riverside.fm is a fairly new service. I think they started in early 2020 or late 2019. I actually first used it to do a live stream in 2020, June. So I've been using it for about 9 months on and off. And what I've found that I really like about Riverside is they're really ramping up. They're very progressive. They're willing to try new things. And so I've made a number of suggestions to them, and they've actually implemented a number of them in a pretty nice way. So I've been pretty impressed from that standpoint. Now, in terms of pricing, of course, it is not a free service. You can do a trial where you get 60 minutes of recording just to try it out and see if you like it and if it's going to fit for you. And of course, the pricing changes depending on whether you prepay for an entire year or just pay month to month. From my point of view, these seem like pretty reasonable prices. Now, no product is perfect. And so what are the cons? One of the things that I found is that audio sync can be an issue, but it's not really a Riverside.fm problem. It's really kind of what you've got on the participant's side. So if someone comes and plugs a USB microphone into their computer and then has maybe a mirrorless camera connected through a capture device, those are probably not going to be in sync. And as of right now, in March, April 2021, there's no feature within Riverside to kind of apply some sort of offset for that sync issue that's likely to arise. So you still have to be very careful about sync. So for example, here I'm feeding the audio from the microphone directly into the camera so that I don't have a sync issue. I would also say that the live stream functionality is not quite at the same level, for example, as Restream.io or StreamYard in terms of not having multiple layouts or as much flexibility with layouts, and no ability to bring in, for example, chat into a lower third on screen. They don't have that just yet. I give them some time. I bet you they'll come up with something like that. So overall, I found Riverside.fm to be a useful service. I'm really quite happy with it, and I use it for my corporate work. Hope that's helpful for you. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave those down below. And if you've not already subscribed, make sure you do that, and we'll be sure to get you more great videos on how to improve your lighting and sound for video. Talk to you soon.